Hey guys, welcome to DataHackr. Thank you for joining me today. In this tutorial, we'll be looking at how to crawl and scrape information from a given website. I'm sure you might have come across use cases where you would need to scrape some information from a website, and the technique of scraping and crawling a website is called web scraping and web crawling. So in this tutorial, we will be looking at how to crawl and scrape information from a given website in Python. For this use case, we'll be using BeautifulSoup library to extract information from the website. So please make sure you like and subscribe to this channel so that you'll get more and more such data science and data engineering related videos and content in the future. So without any further ado, let's get started. So before we get into the problem, let's talk about what is web crawling and what is web scraping. So web crawling and web scraping is pretty much the same, but there is a little bit of a distinction. The technique is still the same, but what you extract and what information you extract from a given website is different between scraping and crawling. So what is web scraping? Web scraping refers to extraction of data from a website or a web page and storing them in a file or a data store or database, whatever you like. Web scraping is more focused, meaning you know what you're looking for, you're extracting specific information, and you're only storing, extracting the information that you need, and you're storing it somewhere. But with respect to web crawling is a concept of crawling websites and the nested links within a given website. Basically, all the search engines like Google, Bing, and any other search engines, they follow this process to crawl websites on the internet and index them and store that content of the website in the cache to serve the search results. So web crawling is more used in terms of indexing, and it is done using crawlers, bots, or spiders, as they call it. So that's the main difference, but the concept behind both web crawling and web scraping is still the same. So web scraping is more focused, right? So now for this use case or example, we will be looking at how to scrape information using BeautifulSoup. BeautifulSoup is a Python library which helps in extracting information from HTML or XML pages. So you can pass in any XML or HTML link, and you can look for specific information or cache the whole website altogether. So for this use case, we will be extracting autonomous system numbers from this website. It's a service provided by Hurricane Electric Internet Services. What is Hurricane Electric Internet Services? It's an internet backbone and co-location provider. Basically, these guys have one of the largest IPv4 and IPv6 network and co-location provider in the globe, and I believe, if you look here, they have the largest IPv6 backbone in the world. And for this use case, we will be extracting the information the ASNs associated with each companies by country. So for example, this will be the root page, will be root URL will be passing to the application, where the application will nest through each of this country and extract ASNs. So United States has about 30,526 ASNs, and Brazil has 9,550 ASNs, and so on. So in our use case, we will loop through this whole list of countries and extract the report information for each of the country, and go into this page, nest the looping process that's called web crawling, and we crawl into each of the links and extract these information by company. So for each company there is an unique ASN assigned, and we have the corresponding IPv4 and v6 routes and adjacencies. So we'll be extracting this information and map it to in a JSON structure format, and I'll be showing you a sample. A sample will look like this. So basically we'll take each company and we will map it to the structure. This is the ASN, and you have the country where the company is located, and then the name of the company and the routes for v4 and v6. So let's look at the code base. If you need the code base for this project, you can get the code base from my GitHub page. So I have the GitHub page linked here. So if you go to my GitHub page, you can clone the project, and it's a simple Python script using BeautifulSoup to extract information. So you can apply this process to extract information from any given website. So we will be focusing more on web scraping in this use case, but the crawling also follows the similar process, where crawling is basically caching the whole website, but in this use case we are extracting specific information. We are not capturing all of these information here. We are looking for specific information like the name of the company, ASN number, and v4 and v6 routes. So alright, so let's look at the code base and we'll come back here. Let me open my VS Code. The system is pretty slow because the recording is running. So I have the code on my website too. So basically, let's skim through here. Okay, we have the VS Code open here. So the script is very simple. We have a main method where it takes an argument. You have the logger function to log the process, the runtime process details into a log file, and then you have the crawl function, and then the crawl function will nestedly call the scrape country function, which will scrape information from the country page, and we will extract all the information with respect to each country and map it to a JSON object. And in this case we'll be using a standard JavaScript notation for JSON objects. So we'll have a ASN database, a global variable that will hold all the nested information about ASN information for each companies by country, right? So basically the process goes through when the application is run. It'll go through this main, and then it'll call the crawl function on the URL passed, and the URL is sent to the crawl method, and the crawl method takes it, and we'll be using BeautifulSoup to create HTML parser object on top of the URL, and it'll basically open the URL and create the object, BeautifulSoup object, and we'll be using that soup object to find specific information. So the way how we do it, we will be looking at specific details, right? So we are doing web scraping, so we are looking at specific details. So if I go back to the website here, let me open the root. So we'll be passing this root website, and in this is basically, if I right click on this and do an inspect element, so if you look at it, this is basically a table. So you see here, and this table tag has ID called table_countries, and then this whole we need information that is inside this table content, right? So we will be looking for that specific tag in the code. So we will say, after the whole website is loaded, we will look for that ID where the table ID is equal to table_countries, which is what you see here, and then we extract that table out. So the whole table is extracted and assigned to this table variable, and then now we loop through that table variable, and that's what we are doing here for each of the row in that table variable. So each row means each row by country. We are looping through each row and finding all the divisions, TD elements. TD is nothing but the table divisions, right? So we will be splitting the information in a table format, just like rows and columns, and extracting the specific column that we need. So we need to loop through or crawl this sublink that is linked here, the report link. So which is what is happening here. So if you look at this page, we are extracting the country information and the nested country URL. So we have the base URL which we will be passing, and then the page URL that we'll be extracting. So we will take that page URL, which is nothing but this nested report, right? So if I do an inspect on that, you have this country/US. So it's a href. That's why we're looking for href element, and then we are extracting that page URL and concatenating that with the base URL, because the href has only /country/US. The base is nothing but the root of the URL, which is bgp.he.net, so which we have stored in this base URL variable here. So we concatenate both the base URL and the page URL, and we call scrape country method, where the scrape country method will extract the information. It'll load this link, the nested link, and extract this table information, right? So it'll load that again as a HTML parser, and we are creating a new soup object or BeautifulSoup object on the nested link, and we are finding, in this case we'll be finding a table again, so because this is a table, but in this case we will be finding a table with an ID called ASNS, right? So we are finding a table with an ID ASNS, and again this is just to avoid any errors. We are checking if it is not null or empty, then we get into this for loop and again loop through each row and each table division, right? So each row and table division and extracting ASN with respect to country and their corresponding route v4 and route v6 data, and which is what we have here, right? So we will extract that information and assign it to, for each of this loop we are creating a new variable, JSON variable, dictionary, Python dictionary basically, and for that new object we'll be assigning the company details, the country name, route v4 and v6 information, and we will be taking that that whole information and assigning it to our global ASN database, which contains all the ASNs for all the countries by ASN. So we are taking the ASN, and then for that given ASN we are assigning the information about that ASN. So we are only extracting route v4 and v6. Let me also add adjacencies, right? So let me copy the whole thing. Let me take the adjacent, sorry. Oh. Let me inspect this. So we get this exactly. The tag should match, so let's just keep what we have in there. You can change the name as you want. I'm gonna call it adjacency v6, just like how it's on the website, and that is in column 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's in the fourth column, right? So we need column 4, and then we are getting that text. So we are getting it as a text and replacing all commas to empty to set it as a number in the JSON object. That's why we are using local dot a to I. A to I is just converting a string into an integer, basically, right? Let's do the same thing for v4. I'm gonna put it under v4, and this time it's going to be a to I, two. So because this is here, second index, and this is v4, right? Let me save this, and let's, yeah, this logic will be applied to each row, so it'll basically nest through each row, and we are stopping the crawl right in this page. If you want, you could actually crawl into this nested ASN and scrape all this information too, but we are not doing it for this use case. Just to demo for this use case, we are just stopping at this page. You could technically loop into all of these links and extract more information about that particular ASN, right? It's the same logic again. Now this logic will be applied to all of the rows in that table, and all the companies information and their corresponding ASNs are extracted and stored in this ASN database, and we do this logic over and over until we go through all of these rows by country. There's quite a few countries, and all the information will be extracted and stored in the that global ASN database. Once the process completes and reaches this last country and all the information is successfully extracted, the root the dictionary will be passed back to the main function where in this after the crawl completes, where we are storing that ASN database into a JSON file called asn.json inside the same project folder, right? So once that is successfully dumped, for dumping that JSON data, we will be using JSON.dump. Basically, it's taking the dictionary object and converting into a JSON notation and writing it to the. We'll be using with open file object and then dump that data into the file, right? So once that is done, the application completes. So that's pretty much is the logic. So let's go ahead and run this process, and then I'll quickly show you. All right. Now let me just run this. Oh, I need to pass the root URL. So let's get this. We'll be passing this root URL to the script. Right. So I'm just gonna run that, and I'm just passing that as an argument to the script. Now when we run the script, so basically it starts and it says crawling so and so URL, and it's scraping information by country. So if you see, keep an eye on the console here, it says scraping. US has a lot of ASNs, so it's going through each of those ASNs and mapping them to the companies and extracting that information and dumping it into that global ASN database, right? And this process continues and it goes through each country and dumps all that information into that ASN database. Once that is done, it will be written to a file. This process is going to take few minutes because we have a lot of countries. So we'll come back to this. Let's go back to the DataHackr website. Here you have the code on the website. I have the whole code here and information about what the script does and dones. I'm having trouble speaking today. Yeah, now the run command is this. It says Python. Make sure you're using Python version 3x. I recently updated the script to work with Python 3x. So make sure your Python version is 3 and above. Once you have the code cloned from GitHub, you can just clone it from my GitHub. I'll give the link right here. I have the link right here to the project. You can run the script and pass the root URL. And this is a sample output. I'll be showing the output in a second. And you can find the, like I said, you can find the code for this project on my GitHub page. And yeah, that's pretty much about web scraping and web crawling. If you like this content, please make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and like this video, share and comment down below. Please let me know if you need more and more such videos, or if you have anything specific that you want me to create next time. Please put it in the comment. I'll just go through the comment and make more such data engineering and data science related machine learning videos. So thank you once again. Thank you for joining me. Let's go back to the output and see how the output looks. So the application completed successfully. It scraped all the countries. So the log you can find the log information in the crawl.log file within this under the same project. So it extracted all these country data and stored it in the JSON file. So in the same folder, it's called ASN.json. And if you look at this, it's a nested JSON object basically by ASN, and you have country information and for that company, and the route v4 and adjacencies for that v4, and route v6 and adjacencies for that v6. So yeah, this is the output. Please leave your comments, feedback on the comment below. Your feedbacks are appreciated. Please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more such videos in the future. So thank you once again for joining me, and we will see you soon again in the next video. Thank you.